Professor under fire. Remember when Randa Jarrar at Fresno State University called the late Barbara Bush an amazing racist and said, "I'm happy the witch is dead"?
Well, now the university is giving students and staff a chance to sound off about it, even though right now the school is not disciplining her. Joining us now is a student at California State University of Fresno and campusreform.org correspondent Nick Matoyan. Nick, thanks for being with us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So what were your thoughts about those comments that she made?
Well, while I absolutely disagree with what the professor said, she does have the right to free speech. And that's one of the things that we as Campus Reform want to promote is free speech on college campuses. Whether it be liberals or conservatives, we do have the right to say what we believe in and the right to stand up for what we want to fight for.
But Nick, you say, okay, so the rights to free speech are universal here in this country.
Correct.
But she crossed a line when she tweeted out a phone number and said it was, Ed, this is my phone number, when in fact it was a suicide hotline number at Arizona State University.
Right. When she tweeted that phone number, which she claimed to be hers, she inundated that phone line with nearly 70 calls per hour, which could have prevented someone who needed the help from getting what they needed. And so that's why I believe she should be terminated. It was tweeting a phone number that could have prevented someone from getting the help that they desperately needed.
So tell me about this forum. What do you expect to get out of it? What role do you think you'll play in it?
So the hope for the forum today is that we'll hear from the university president and our campus administration about the reasoning behind the decision not to terminate Randa Jarrar from Fresno State. And I also want to hear how our campus administration plans to prevent this type of thing from happening again. We've had instances where this has happened at Fresno State before, and again, nothing has happened to these professors. And so what I hope to see is a plan to show that this will not happen again, and the plan to promote free speech on campus, both for conservatives and liberals.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you think there is a double standard, though? I mean, had somebody on your campus in a position on the faculty had made those comments about somebody from a famous Democrat family, do you think they'd still be working there?
Absolutely not. I think that any one of the comments that she made about Barbara Bush were made about Hillary Clinton or Michelle Obama, they would immediately have been terminated from their position. So there absolutely is a double standard within college campuses. And there's a trend going on within campus reform where we're seeing, college students being taunted by their liberal professors and being slammed for their views.
Real quick,
so
Nick, are there any Democrats upset about this, or is it just, well, we're going to ignore it because Barbara Bush was from a Republican family?
There are Democrats that I've talked to that are upset about this, and they believe that the work that she's done in promoting literacy with children and adults alike is something to be respected. And while they may not like her politics, they do respect her as a person. So there definitely are Democrats who are outraged at her comments.
Yeah,
it's embarrassing for Fresno State.
Thank you, Nick. Let us know how it goes.
Thank you so much.
That forum is tomorrow.
Thank you.
For Fresno State.
Thank you, Nick. Let us know how it goes.
Thank you so much.
That forum is tomorrow.
Thank you.
All right, a teenager sparking a big debate over her prom dress. Some people are calling it racist. That teenager is here to respond to the critics.
And Nancy Pelosi just made her boldest prediction yet about the midterms. Her predictions are always exciting. I can't wait to hear them. I think she wins in the end. Also, they seem thorough and comprehensive.
The New York Times is saying,
and a bunch of traps.
New York Times says they were read by special counsel investigators, these questions, to the president's lawyers, who compiled them into a list and then provided to the Times by a person outside the president's legal team. But then you have Republicans that are saying it was leaked by the special counsel's office, by Robert Mueller's office.
Right.
We don't know.
Nobody knows except the reporter over at the New York Times. Nonetheless, when you look at all of the questions and you're going, wait, it looks like they're trying to prove obstruction of justice. So it's hard to obstruct justice for a crime that never happened. And that is, where were all the questions about Russia?
But there is some collusion questions in there.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
There is, so to say there's no collusion is not right.
We've got Victoria Tensing going to join us in about an hour. She is an expert at this, and she says the president doesn't have to do any of that stuff because of Article 2 of the U.S. Constitution.
And then it will go to the courts, and maybe we're going to have this for another year as it goes possibly ultimately to the Supreme Court. Meanwhile, Sebastian Gorka wrote a column about this, and just to join us earlier, and just said this whole thing is about three people in the Obama administration who have combined to some tangentially collude with Russia to take this president down. He's talking about Clapper, he's talking about Brennan, and he's talking about Comey. Especially in the case of James Clapper, this guy's already been caught lying, not telling the truth when he says there's been he has not leaked any information about the dossier to the media, where it turns out he corrected himself. He did. Listen.
Clapper admits that he spoke to CNN. We know that CNN had the dossier, but they needed a so-called news hook to hang it on. So what did he do? DNI Clapper told James Comey to brief the dossier to the president. And after that happened, Clapper told Jake Tapper at CNN, oh, it's briefed. And then CNN had their peg to hang it on. And so a dossier that was built on Russian propaganda, we now know that, became a news item thanks to Clapper leaking. This is bogus.
So we're talking about this. We're talking about the fact that he says it's briefed, you can run with the story. Remember, James Clapper, in James Comey's book, and it's been confirmed elsewhere, pushed James Comey to tell the president in Trump Tower when he was president-elect about the dossier. Because he told James Comey, the press has it, and they're looking for a news hook. I don't want the president to be surprised by it. Perhaps the press had it because he leaked it. And guess who had it? CNN. Guess where he went afterwards? CNN as a contributor, where he's backtracked on his story a couple of times.
Is he admitted to giving that to CNN?
Oh, yeah. He gave it to Jake Tapper, and he says maybe other members of the media.
And keep in mind, it was just this weekend that CNN won a big award at the White House Correspondents Association dinner for that story.
Of course they did. Okay. Meanwhile, Nancy Pelosi, in an interview, she's saying she is here to stay, this master negotiator, as you remember. She's saying that she's going to be the House Minority Leader and the Democrats are going to win in November.
Here's a quote from the Boston Globe yesterday. We will win, winning back the House. I will run for Speaker. I feel confident about it, and my members do too.
Yeah, no, she already is the House Minority Leader. I meant to say she wants to be Speaker again, and she's determined that she will be. Same old, same old.
Others say it's going to be Congressman Crowley of New York. Hardly a unifying spirit anyway, but we'll see about that. A lot of her predictions don't come true. Well, and a lot of things she says don't pan out.
Here's the thing.
Not crumbs.
That's right. If you got to figure that there are a number of Republicans who are going to put those comments into a great big ad and say, do you want Nancy Pelosi to be the Speaker of the House again with her old ideas and whatnot?
Look at that.
I saw Congressman Tim Ryan at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. He mentioned to me they don't even speak. Tim Ryan got very closer than anybody else to being the next speaker. He was fearless about running against her and the money machine in which she is.
And that's the peril. If you speak out against somebody who's very powerful in leadership, next thing you know, they don't help you with cash for your reelection, and you wind up on no commitments.
Well, she is known to be able to fundraise and get money for the party.
There's two things that could save the House for the Republicans. Impeachment and Nancy Pelosi. Those are two things they're saying, bring it on. Keep talking about that. That'll scare the American public.
Let us know what you think. Meantime, we're going to hand it over to Jillian, who has some headlines for us.
Good morning to you guys, to you at home as well. Let's get you caught up on some headlines we're following, starting with this. We now know the U.S. soldier gunned down in Afghanistan on Monday was part of the Pentagon's counterterrorism mission. 22-year-old Army specialist Gabriel Kand killed outside Kabul on his first deployment. His family in Colorado says he defined the word bravery.
He was called to be a warrior.
I feel very proud of who he is. He's the kind of son that any mother would be proud to have.
This marks the second U.S. combat death in Afghanistan this year. A convicted terrorist who killed a college student on a so-called jihad will spend the rest of his life behind bars. Ali Muhammad Brown sentenced in the shooting death of 19-year-old Brendan Tevlin. Brown apologized to Tevlin's family, but says he doesn't regret anything.
We are so grateful that this monster will be locked up forever with no chance of parole. He doesn't deserve to see the light of day ever again.
Brown murdered Tevlin in 2014 as he sat at a traffic light in New Jersey. He also admits to killing 3 other people. Thousands of students across the country planning to walk out of school today in support of the amendment. The Stand for the Second walkout was created by a high school student who wants to give pro-gun students a voice. About 300 schools in 42 states will participate in the 16-minute demonstration. The movement comes just over a month after students staged a walkout protesting gun violence in the wake of the Parkland school shooting. A pair of bald eagles at the National Arboretum in Washington, D.C., welcoming a new eaglet. DC-6, born to proud parents Mr. President and First Lady, its birth live streamed on the DC Eagle Cam. Its brother or sister, DC-7, is expected to hatch sometime this week. It's stuff like that you just can't get enough of watching, right?
Huge. They could do a better job with the names, though.
Yes.
DC-6. DC-6, clean up your nest.
Eaglet. I love that. You know, we ordered caterpillars online and we put them.
What?
Yeah, I had live caterpillars in my apartment. But it's a good teaching tool. It reminds me of that. Hayden would love that. And then they turned into butterflies. We took them to the park and released them.
Oh, that's nice.
You can buy them on Amazon.
Who knew?
Wow.
Do you want me to buy you caterpillars for Christmas, guys?
Yeah, if you have a plan B, I wouldn't mind that.
I have a big yard.
Right.
I have my own.
They come in a jar. You don't have to touch them.
You know what? I don't need to see it to believe it. Meanwhile, 13 minutes after the hour, the first immigrants from that caravan are getting asylum. I know. But what about the thousands of others still waiting, some straddling a fence? The Customs and Border Protection Commissioner joins us next.
Plus, have you heard about this? A teenager shamed online over her prom dress. Some say it's racist. She says it's just a dress. She joins us live to fire back at her many critics.
This situation is a direct result of our weak immigration laws and our porous border. But under this president, we will uphold our laws, defend our sovereignty, and we will protect the borders of the United States of America.
There you've got Vice President Mike Pence doubling down on the need for stronger immigration laws as more migrants from that caravan apply for asylum. Here with more is U.S. Customs and Border Protection Commissioner Kevin McAleenan. Kevin, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Okay, I know that there was a lot of criticism of the government because when the migrants arrived, I believe on Sunday, your folks said, hold it, we don't have any room here. But there, you had a good reason because you were already processing a gigantic group of mainly Mexican migrants who were also seeking asylum.
Yeah, that's right, Steve. I mean, to give you some context, San Ysidro Port of Entry south of San Diego is our absolute busiest in the entire country. Over 100,000 travelers a day coming through that port. It's our largest port for drug seizures on the southwest border, and it's one of the busiest for finding inadmissible persons, those that have fraudulent documents or no right to enter. So it's a very busy place in the first place, and processing people without documents who are making asylum claims is necessarily time intensive, and we need to have space for them to handle that appropriately.
Sure, and I understand, according to the San Diego papers, 28 caravan members were admitted to apply for asylum. As they do that, how's it work this time? Do they just go through the entry and they sign some papers and boom, they're loose somewhere in the United States, or are you hanging on to them?
It's actually not that straightforward. There's a significant interview process. There's a sworn statement. There's a time frame before they can see an asylum officer.
Okay.
All of these procedures have to be set up and happen at the port of entry. Then our partners at Immigration and Customs Enforcement have to find space for them in their detention cells,
okay.
Whether it's single adults or family units, transportation issues. There's a whole lot of things that have to happen for each case.
Sure, and we're looking at some of the images of people along the border, the southern border. For those 11 who jumped the fence, they were grabbed by your folks, and now what's going to happen to them?
Yeah, the U.S. Border Patrol apprehended about 11 folks, and some with family units, crossing the border between ports of entry the night of Friday and into Saturday morning. We set those up for prosecution with the strong support of the Attorney General and the Department of Justice.
Right.
So they're in U.S. Marshal custody, and they're going to go through the criminal process.
The message down south, if they're thinking of coming into the country illegally or to apply for asylum, what is the message now?
Yeah, Secretary Nielsen has made it clear. You cross our border between ports of entry, you're violating our laws, and you will be prosecuted. There's no exempt categories.
All right, very good. He is the commissioner of the CPB, Kevin McAleenan. Sir, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Now we know what's going on down there. Meanwhile, have you heard this? A teenager shamed online over her prom dress. Some say the dress is racist. She says it's just a dress. She joins Ainsley live to fire back at her critics next on Fox and Friends.
Time for your news by the numbers. I hope you're dressed while I read this. First, $23.1 billion. That's how much Americans are expected to spend this Mother's Day. That's a shot of a woman's torso. It would be the second most expensive one on record, behind last year. Good luck, moms. You deserve it. I'm walking now. Next, $168. That's what you'll have to spend if these extreme cutout jeans are on your mom's shopping list. They're not even jeans. They're called shorts. The company is called Karma Denim. Get it? On social media. And finally, that's how many times a Florida man won the lottery. 2. So he can buy all the jeans he wants. He just won $1 million on a scratch-off ticket there, not pictured, just blurred. 4 years after winning another $1 million ticket in Sarasota. All right, now let's go over the rail to Ainsley, who's sitting alone, but won't be alone for long.
Thank you so much, Brian. Well, this teenager right there shamed over her prom dress, the one she's wearing in that picture. Some are calling her racist. She is a high school student in Utah. Her name is Keziah Dom, and she was posting these photos wearing this traditional Chinese prom dress. The 18-year-old was sent hundreds of angry comments on Twitter, including this one, which seemed to start it all by saying, quote, "My culture is not your bleep prom dress." But the student is now standing up to those critics. Keziah Dom joins us now. Good morning to you, Keziah.
Good morning.
Good morning. All right, so tell us how all this happened.
For prom, I decided to go to a vintage shop in downtown Salt Lake, and I was looking for a dress that had a modest neckline and was unique. And the second I saw this dress, I was immediately drawn to it and its beauty, and I bought it. The night of prom, I got multiple compliments from strangers and even from teachers and administrators, my friends. When I posted it on Twitter the day after with the simple caption prom, that was when I started getting some responses. And I wasn't expecting it quite exactly, so it caught me by surprise.
Some people in that picture right there that we're showing where you're kneeling down and you have your hands clasped and folded, some say that you're mocking Chinese culture. What do you say to that?
We were not mocking Chinese culture. In fact, we were referring to a famous YouTuber from H3H3 Productions.
Now, I want to read some of these tweets that you got because you wore that dress. One person says, "What's the theme of your life? Ignorant?" And then another person writes, "This isn't okay. I wouldn't wear traditional Korean, Japanese, or any other traditional dress. And I'm Asian. I wouldn't wear traditional Irish or Swedish or Greek dress either. There's a lot of history behind these clothes. Sad." What's your response?
I feel that there's a difference between wearing something with a different intent, because I personally wore the dress because I really respect the culture and I believed it was very beautiful, and I wanted to show my respect and love by wearing one of their clothes in admiration of them.
If you could do it all over again, would you wear the same dress?
Yes, I would definitely wear it again.
You're one tough cookie. A lot of teenagers your age wouldn't be able to handle all of this criticism. How do you handle that?
I just tell myself that there's going to be people who aren't always going to be pleased. And I've learned to accept that, and that I know what I've done and the reason why, and that's what I tell myself.
What's the lesson here? What have you learned?
My lesson I've learned is it's important to see things from other people's shoes, and being able to understand other people's opinions and awareness is a big thing.
Well, Ben Shapiro, I don't know if you know who he is. He's a Republican activist. He speaks all over the country. He's gotten a lot of backlash with speaking at Berkeley. Democrats didn't want him there. He's saying, way to go. He's glad, proud of you for defending yourself. What about your principal? What about your school? What are they saying?
My principal has been very kind to me and pulled me out of class on Monday. And he told me how he's on my side and he's proud that I'm standing my ground. And I felt very supported there, and along with my peers at school.
What about this PC culture that we're in where you can't, I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that complimented you on your dress and thought it was beautiful. You said some of your friends did when y'all were taking pictures. What does this say about our society and where we're heading as a country?
I feel that our society is growing a lot and being able to accept other cultures and show your appreciation. And